Welcome back to the FloXC show presented by ASICS. I'm Gordon. I'm here with Kevin Sully. It's time to dive into those new updated rankings.
Very exciting. We had pre-nationals over the weekend, Gordon. We can say officially the regular season has come to an end.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for championship.
Someone might racing this upcoming weekend.
That's true. The major meets are out of the way in terms of the regular season. Then we're going to get in the championship season. So it's not surprising that we're going to see some movement now in these rankings after that big clash in Madison over the weekend.
And most likely we won't really see much movement moving forward because you're only going to race each other in your conference. There's not that many teams that are ranked in one specific conference outside of Pac-12. And then ultimately regionals, you can't really take much from regionals because you run regionals just to qualify. So, but with that said, here's a
This could be it.
This could be it. What's the point of watching the rest of the shows? FloXC show post-pre-Nats edition, starting on the women's side. Coming in at 21, Syracuse, Princeton 22, Georgia 23, Ole Miss 24, and Iowa State 25.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
two teams on there that weren't ranked previously, Syracuse and Princeton. Syracuse was 8th at pre-nats in the Cardinals race. They jump up to 21. They actually had a 58-second spread. They're led by a freshman, Lauren Dickerson, who finished 28th, so a freshman to keep an eye on out there. Ole Miss dropped a little bit. They were 16th, down to 24th after getting 12th in the Cardinal race. Young team, though, so not unexpected that they would have some ebbs and flows throughout the season.
Yeah, and also Princeton, a team that wasn't at pre-nats, gets a top 25 debut after running well at the Penn State Open, I believe.
Princeton, always off the beaten path, men and women.
Yes.
Never can keep track of them.
Moving on to the next 5, we have Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Portland, Minnesota, and Furman.
Yeah, Notre Dame ran well.
They did.
At pre-nats. Jacqueline Goggin, their freshman, was actually their top runner, finished 13th. Anna Rohr was 17th, so they jumped from 25th all the way to number 16. Portland stays pretty much the same, or drops a little bit. They were 15 to 18. LaRocco and Rawlings were there. Still waiting to see if we can see their star freshman, Camilla No. And then Furman, led by Savannah Carnahan, they got 7th, but they drop a little bit. She finished 7th. The team finished 7th. They drop a little bit from 13th down to 20th.
Let's move. Let's keep this show short and sweet. People just want to know the rankings, and we're going to give it to them. Time for number 11 through 15. We have Wisconsin 15, Washington 14, NC State 13, Michigan State 12, and Penn State 11. Thoughts?
Washington didn't run Lily Burden again.
Yes.
So not sure if she's running this season for the Huskies. Katie Rainsberger ran well.
You know, sometimes, especially Pac-12 schools, they don't debut till conference championships.
Just wait and wait. Yeah.
So I think Washington is we're still ranking Washington with the Lily Burden chamber in their back pocket.
Okay. I didn't know if that was factored in.
So that's factored in.
Well, and they moved up. I mean, even without her, they were 5th at pre-nats. Rainsberger ran really well. Wisconsin, hard to read much into them. They ran as a group. They tempoed, so we dropped them from 8th down to 15th.
And I think that was more of just other teams started showing some good signs. It wasn't really Wisconsin showing bad signs, just other teams showing great signs. And then Penn State, Michigan State, 2 teams that weren't at pre-nats, had some good showings. They went 1-2 at the Penn State Open. Penn State led by Julian Patterson, another phenom frosh. We talked about Trina Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Julian Patterson, someone who we're going to be watching for the next 4 years. So that'll be interesting to see from the Penn State Lions. And Elizabeth Chikatis didn't even run, and they won.
Mm-hmm.
So she was, in 2016, top 20. She might be dealing with some injuries, though. But Penn State, they have a good, solid, potential top 10 program. Moving on through 6 to 10, Stanford at 6, Michigan 7, Villanova 8, Indiana 9, and BYU 10.
Yeah, so Stanford on the back of that top duo of Craney and O'Keefe, they go 4-5. They finish 3rd at pre-nats. Michigan gets 2nd at pre-nationals, a 50-second spread from their 1 through 5. Other than Wisconsin, who ran as a group, so you can't really count their spread, they had the best spread of anybody in the top 19 in that race. So very, very tight pack as expected. Could get even better if Anna West gets rolling this year, but right now they look very strong. Michigan does. Indiana, Catherine Receiver, their top runner once again this week. She plays 15th. And Erica Burke-Jarvis for BYU. She got 4th, and the team finished 4th in that Cardinal race.
Yeah, and Stanford, let's not forget they have yet to run Christina Aragon.
Mm-hmm.
So
is she another one waiting for Pac-12s?
Yeah, I think so.
Man,
so we're going to see the Aragon Burden show
that could be good.
Pac-12s. So keep that in mind for Stanford. All right, moving on, top 5. We're not going to make it dramatic. We're just going to show all 5.
There's some movement, though.
3, 2, 1, boom. Colorado stays 1. New Mexico stays 2. Arkansas, we're moving to 3. Oregon 4, Boise State 5. We dropped Boise State from 3 to 5.
They didn't race. I understand probably why you did that. Arkansas is so impressive, winning their race by 20 points. So they moved from 7 all the way to 3. We knew Katrina Robinson was going to be strong after finishing 8th in Nuttycombe. We did not anticipate the rest of that pack. 4 in the top 10, Gordon. 4 in the top 10 for Arkansas. Villion, Werner. I mean, they looked
Lauren
really
Gregory.
Yeah, so she didn't run Nuttycombe. She was the big addition. She didn't run Nuttycombe. They used her this week at pre-nats. I mean, if they could even bridge the gap more if 5 could come down even closer, I mean, you're looking at a potential podium team here. And then Oregon going in the opposite direction a bit.
And I think the reason why I think most people would think that the rankings would be Colorado, New Mexico, Boise, Arkansas, Oregon, you know, because I feel like why are we dropping Boise in favor for Oregon, who didn't run well at pre-nats? And I really think that there's still optimism in Oregon, and I believe, because they on paper have the talent to be a championship caliber team, like win. I mean, seeing how Jessica Hall was what, 90th or something like that?
Yeah, she was well off All-American spot last year.
Jessica Hall is now becoming like, hey, I can finish in the top 20 after her showing her
at the very least
position. And then if Pyzik and Brower can find a way to rekindle that 2017 magic, I know it's a year ago and they didn't really do much during the track season, but they do have something there. I think we'll know more about the Oregon Ducks, see how they do at Pac-12s. But don't be surprised if Oregon like has an incredible Pac-12 performance, and all of a sudden we're gonna be like, Oregon's for real, and Colorado and New Mexico got to watch out.
Yeah, I mean, you watch that race, and Oregon's number 2 doesn't come in till 12th, and by that time, Arkansas already had 4 in, and it looked like it would be even a bigger route than it was. 2 silver linings here, though. You mentioned Hall. You think top 20. I think legitimate top 10, and potentially even lower, because I think she's running like the Jessica Hall of the spring, more so than she did Jessica Hall of years past. The second thing, they weren't high up, but their gap was close together. It was only a 40-second spread, and when you have the race winner and it's only 40-second spread, so if Pyzik, Philippa Bowden, who was off the pack at Dillinger, was now their 3rd runner, and then they had Kodama Baez and then Isabel Brower, like they were all packed close together. So if their coach thinks that they're trending in the right direction and they're able to keep it close with one another, they could sneak in. The tough part is, I mean, New Mexico and Colorado just seem so potent. And even though New Mexico has 5th runner issues as well too, I mean, that trio and the duo especially, I mean, if your top 2 score 3 points, it's very, very difficult at that point.
Unless you're Eric Jenkins and Edward Cheswick when they went 1-2 and they finished in like 10th or something like that.
Exactly.
But we're not going to talk about that. Moving on to the men. Let's do men. You want to do men?
25 to 1
Top
here.
25 to 21. Air Force, Purdue, Furman, Iona, and Southern Utah. Thoughts here, and then I'll talk about one team that is here that people are going to be like, why is that team here? But
just like the women in this section, 2 unranked teams jump in. For the men, it's Iona and Furman. Furman got a big race, a crazy race from Aaron Templeton. Finishes 4th, was kicking alongside Fisher, Baxter, and Day. He's a guy who's never made an NCAA championships outside of cross. Like, he's never made it on the track, outdoors or indoors. Made it twice in cross, but never All-American. I mean, it's a huge shock. Big surprise to see him out there, and he kind of drags Furman along with him into the top 25.
Yeah, that was impressive run there for Templeton. Furman.
You're going to talk about Iona.
Iona. Why is Iona here? So
they got 13th at Penn State.
They got 13th at Penn State.
Why is Iona here?
So they didn't run a full squad.
Okay.
But the thing that made Iona jump is that one of their athletes, I forget how to say his name, Ahib, something. I forget. I'm saying your name wrong. But he had a good run. He was in the top 10. And they got the D brothers, who are both quality. They didn't run one of their D brothers at Penn State. And they basically, based on performances, if you take their best performances that they had at Nuttycombe and the best performances that they had at Penn State, and you put them together, it's a top 25 team. They haven't done it together at one meet. So I think when you combine their 2 meets together, they're a top 25 team.
That one did jump out at me. I was like, what happened?
Yeah. So that's just based off of recognizing half of their roster did good here, the other half did good here. So you have to imagine, put them together, you get 24.
Yeah. 2 plus 2 equals 4.
And Iona, I mean, They've been in how long have they been in NCAA championships?
Seems like ever since I've been alive.
Yeah, like almost, I think, quarter of a century at least, maybe.
Yeah, I'm older than that,
They were top 10 for like 12 or 13 straight years.
Yeah.
So for them to not make the meet would be crazy, in my opinion. I mean, you got to think they're in that Northeast region. Syracuse is the lock. And then after that, you got the Ivy teams. But I think Iona's going to show up and get second in the Northeast. So let's keep going, which is going to be great for a lot of teams because a lot of teams got wins over Iona.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Was it an A-team win, though? I mean, if their team keeps splitting up, it's kind of tough.
It's still an A-team because it's like if you're resting your number 2 guy and your number 3 guy, but you still have your 1.
Just need 4, right?
You just need 4.
There you go.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Moving on. 16-20, Colorado State, Alabama, Ole Miss, UCLA, Notre Dame. Alabama stays put because they got 3 really good runners, and with 3 really good runners, you're going to be top 20, so they're going to always stay 17 until the end of November.
Yeah, Ole Miss falls down. They were 12th. They got 7th at pre-nats. Waleed Suleiman, their top guy, in 26. And UCLA made a big jump up from 25 to 19th. They got 4th without Robert Brandt.
Yeah, and that's even without Robert Brandt, they had good showing. I think they might end up redshirting Robert Brandt.
And that was not UCLA weather, I'll say.
Yes.
As someone who's lived in Southern California for an extended period of time, 31 degrees at the start is not Southern California weather, and they got 4th. So.
Yeah, Notre Dame had a good run. They're 20th now. They got a lot of young guys on that roster. So let's move on, though, to top 15. It's time for Virginia, 11. So they have made a big jump. Eastern Kentucky, 12. They also made a big jump. Oregon, 13. They made a big jump. Arkansas, 14. They went down. And Wyoming made a huge jump. They're 15th.
Yeah, so more big jumpers than big fallers here. Virginia and Eastern Kentucky went 1-2 at the Penn State Open. Virginia had 3 in the top 8. Eastern Kentucky, they got James Segura up front, the freshman. He won that race. Oregon was interesting. Didn't get a man in until 17th, but still got 4th. And Reed Brown was way back in 138th. So in a way, it's like a promising sign for Oregon. Arkansas, 3rd in the Penn – 3rd or – no, I think – 3rd of the Penn State Open. They were behind Virginia. That's right. And then Wyoming, like you said, on the strength of Paul Roberts, who was 12th. They got 5th at pre-nats. So Wyoming, man. Is that another mountain team?
It's another mountain team. A lot of teams. That mountain regional is going to be fun to watch because a lot of those teams. I mean, they all have a lot of points, but it's all about positioning. If you don't want.
You can't mess around. You can't mess around that mountain.
Especially with Air Force, Colorado State's, Wyoming's now, and it's going to be crazy. And it's going to be live on FloTrack.
That is true.
Regional, so it's going to be good to watch. And NAU BYU, of course.
Yeah, I think they would be the favorites.
They would be the favorites, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going to top 10.
Here we go.
Wisconsin 6, Colorado 7, Boise 8, Washington 9, Syracuse 10. Syracuse drops a bit. They didn't really have a good performance there. They actually lost to Washington. Washington had a great run. Andy Powell, first year there, getting these guys together. Post-race interview, he was still talking about, like, our goal is still is to qualify. I'm like, you're a top 10 program. You're not trying to qualify. You're going to qualify. You have a chance to be top 10. So, but maybe he wants to be conservative with his approach with his team.
Well, their big revelation, Thibodeau Proctor, 6th.
Yeah.
Individually in that race, they got 2nd as a team. But did you have him on your radar at all?
I did not.
I mean, we knew Tanner Anderson.
Yeah, but
and some of the other guys out there, but Proctor, the sophomore, had a crazy race there. Boise State didn't run. Colorado got a really good race from Klecker, who finished 5th, and Ryan Forsyth was actually their number 2 man, got 10th. Can't read too much into anything into Wisconsin. They ran a B team.
B-team, yes. Yeah. Nope, they ran a B team.
Yeah.
Moving on to the final top 5. Again, no drama. We're just going to show it to you. NAU has dropped. No, I'm just kidding. NAU is still number 1. NAU is number 1. BYU is 2. Stanford moves all the way up to 3. Portland and Iowa State hold serve there for 5. So the big change here is obviously this is the first time we're ranking Stanford into the podium spots. And I think the reason why is because they ran well, but they ran well without one key contributor and one potential key contributor. So Stephen Fahey did not run.
Mm-hmm.
He was top 20 individually last year. And Thomas Ratcliffe didn't run. Now, Ratcliffe, he's more of a wild card. I'm not sure. He's not that much of a game changer, but Stephen Fahey should be running right there with Alex Osberg. You throw in that changes a lot with their team score. And I think they have, once Stephen Fahey is in there, they have 5, especially seeing how Alec Parsons was able to step up and run well. So when Alec Parsons is now your 4th man, it's pretty good.
Yeah, we don't know much else about Portland or Iowa State because they didn't race A teams or race at all. Stanford and Fisher looked really good. BYU, man, 1, 4, 5, 7, 12 with no Daniel Carney. I mean, the beauty of their depth is there's no. It seems like less pressure, right? Connor McMillan can be your 4th, 5th, 3rd runner, and you can still do fine because Rory Linklater rotates right in there. He gets the win. Connor Mance ran crazy. Clayton Shumway was really strong for them as well. The only problem is it's a year where you have a team like NAU who had a 23-second spread, and if you counted NAU's 7, they still would have won that meet. I know Faye didn't run, so that would have been different, but I mean, just complete domination again for NAU. Baxter is back, and he's always going to be one spot either in front or behind of Tyler Day, it seems like. Yeah. And if that's the case, they're just incredibly hard to beat.
Now, I think BYU does have the formula, though, to beat NAU. As good as NAU is, I mean, NAU is going to go, I'm talking individual matchup-wise, NAU obviously is going to put 2 in the top 3 to 5, right? With Baxter and Day. I honestly believe BYU can put 3 in front of Peter Lamong. They're number 3. I think NAU will go NAU, and then I think there'll be 3 BYU guys and then Peter Lamong. Now, that's nothing to say against Peter Lamong. I still think Peter Lamong is going to finish like 10th to 15th. I think that BYU is going to be able to put 3 guys between Day, Baxter, and Lamong. And when we do that, that kind of washes it out. So that means they're kind of even through 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the key is it's going to be BYU's 4th versus their 4th, BYU's 5th versus NAU's 5th. Right now, NAU has a better 4-5 if you look matchup, but BYU's 4-5 could be 4-5 could be a Connor Mance and a Clayton Young.
Yeah.
That could be BYU's 4-5. Now, Connor Mance versus Louis Grijalva and Clayton Young versus Jordy Beamish or Blaze Farrow.
Blaze Farrow, yeah.
You know, it's not cut and dry like 10 out of 10 times NAU wins those matchups. I think there is 2, maybe 3 out of those 10 times where BYU wins those matchups. So it's not a done deal. That's what I'm thinking.
It's not a done deal because you can't, with the amount of available guys who have run under 14 minutes for 5,000 for BYU, it's not a done deal. But, man, how things have changed. I used to be the Peter Lamong skeptic, and then you were the one convinced me, no, he's fine. I learned my lesson. I do not bet against Peter Lamong on a cross-country course at all. I think they'll be just fine. Like I said, it's just a tough year for BYU. And in any other year, I mean, that pack and that depth would be a clear favorite. But I agree. Yeah. It's still a possibility.
I think it's going to be NAU, BYU, NAU, and then whoever wins the 4-5 will win the national title. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. The thing with Day and Baxter, just
market right now.
Day and Baxter are just so solid at 2 and 3. So you don't know what's that gap going to be from NAU's second man to BYU's first man to, I think, could. Now, there's not as many points at stake there.
Because there's not going to be.
Well, if there's a six person.
You could beat someone by 20 seconds, but there's only one person between that. Because not that many people are running up there.
Sure.
So
but, I mean, it's a difference between if we're talking about small margins, difference between if they get 8th versus if they get, slide back to 14th or 15th.
But I think Day and Baxter are so good that the lead they're going to have, there's not going to be much individual places gaps between them because they're going to – it's the same thing that happened to American Fork at NXN. They had 3 really good guys.
Hey, this is not mile split. You can't come out with the high school stuff.
They had 3 really good guys who put 3 in the top 5, but the problem is it doesn't matter if they're 30 seconds better than you. If they only put 3 bodies between you, you only beat them by 3 versus like any time is going to be much better, but the body count isn't going to be as good.
Well, I'm just looking at the people, right? So say they went 1-2, NAU best case scenario went 1-2. I mean, who could be between them and then BYU's first guy? I mean, you have McDonald, you have Oliver Hoare, you have the Stanford guys, you have the Portland guys, you have Edwin Kurgat, you have Segura, you have the Campbell guys, you have Kiprop.
Campbell won't count.
Oh, true. You counting them out?
I'm counting them out now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got the Alabama. Like, they could cram a bunch of people in there. It's so deep. That first 20 is really tough.
True.
I'm just saying, if it's going to come down to small margins, that could be a difference. But overall, I'm with you. I think we're going to stick with our theme, the fourth man Matt.
So whoever wins between the 4th. I think it's going to happen. I think, yeah. Keep an eye on.
You're not ready for a pick yet. We're still 5 weeks away from.
We're still 5 weeks out. I still got to watch Mountain Regional and Mountain West and West Coast Conference.
Again, I don't pick against Peter Lamong across country course. I learned my lesson. You've made fun of me pretty much every day since. I think it's funny how it's turned.
So that is it. That is our top 25 in both the men's and women's side. This weekend, there's no cross country, but next weekend we have Big Tens, Mountain West, and Big 12s going down live. Finally get to see Iowa State again. Be fun to see them. Wisconsin going full strength will be great, and then ultimately Mountain get New Mexico, Boise.
And Boise.
That's gonna be fun. Colorado State men, so it should be good. And Boise State men, Colorado State, Boise State should be good.
Yeah.
So good, so good. I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, that one's in San Diego. Big 12 is in Ames, and then Big 10 is in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Boom. Watch
There
it
it is.
live. We out. End that stream.